Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan, and I'm joined by Mai to talk about Life is Strange Remastered. Welcome, Mai.
Hello, it's great to finally be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I'm excited that the stars aligned and Life is Strange Remastered came out, and we were both able to do this. Really excited to talk about this together. If people don't know you or kind of the work you do online, why don't you tell them about the stuff you do?
Well, I've been working with Chris, a friend on lifeisstrangefans.com. We have a Discord server. Yeah, we are wrapping up the work on the actual website that's going to come out on February 25. Hopefully, this time it will be that date. Yeah, we've been, I don't know, a big part of the fandom for the last couple of years. Basically, since the game came out, we had discussions and we had a live chat and people were like just flowing in, and most people are still around, so yeah, we keep it active on Discord for now.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, if you like Life is Strange and you're not a part of lifeisstrangefans.com or their Discord or any of that stuff, highly recommend checking their things out on their Twitter. They post a lot of cool fan art. There's a lot of great stuff over there. And so, with that, I thought that Mai would be the perfect person to talk about this remaster with. So, that's what we'll end up spending most of our time doing. I did have two quick notes I wanted to hit up before we kind of dive in. The first one being is I wanted to give a thank you to Megan, who became a supporter on Patreon. So, Megan, thank you for your support. We're really grateful that you'd get behind the podcast in that way. If you'd want to be like Megan, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, for as little as $1 per month, that will get you access to monthly bonus episodes we do. So we've done things like our favorite Pokemon, or we ranked the episodes of Life is Strange before True Colors came out. Things like that. So if that sounds like something you'd like, go check that out there. So that's the first note. Second note that is important is this episode on Life is Strange Remaster isn't going to be kind of our standard recap that we do on most of our normal episodes, because we've already talked about this. Back in 2018, when the podcast launched, we did a kind of standard recap, breakdown, discussion, all of that stuff on each episode of Life is Strange, and actually Before the Storm also back then. So if you want to hear that, definitely go check those out. And that is an idea of what our typical episodes are like. This one's a little bit different. And then also, with that in mind, our discussion today is going to be spoiler filled. So if you haven't played Life is Strange, if you haven't played Before the Storm, please go play those first before listening, because as we talk through the game, sure, we're going to be talking about how it worked and different things like that, but I do think we'll probably camp out on different story things. And so, yeah, proceed with caution if you have not played. So cool. Okay, that kind of gets that out of the way. Know what's heading. So I thought that there were kind of two other important questions I think that are worth diving in before we discuss the remaster, since, you know, it's a game that's already come out and all of those things. So I wanted to ask you first, Mai, what's your history with Life is Strange? What has that been like with you before you've kind of got here?
It was weird because I saw the trailer when it came out, I think 2014, and I was like, I am so not going to play this. Like, I sensed like this is so not my jam, you know. I was really like doing nothing when it came out. I was out of a job and doing pretty much nothing all day, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to play it just because I have nothing better to do. Like, I needed an excuse. Like, okay, it's not my kind of game. I suppose it wasn't, because I started with Life is Strange and then I dive in The Walking Dead with Telltale and all that stuff. So I'm pretty glad I actually got into the kind of games that explore story the most. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to play this. It looks dumb, you know, like it looks like teenage drama stuff. Like, it's not my jam. And I started to play, and I don't know. By the end of the first episode, when the snow starts to fall, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm totally hooked. I need to know what happened. And fast forward to now, it basically turned my life upside down. like the entire thing. So
Yeah, that's true. So you played episode 1 then. When episode 2 came out, did you play that at release and you just played at release all the way through?
yes, yes, I
Wow.
couldn't wait. Like I was like, the months in between episodes were torture. Like my friends and I were the only thing we could talk about. Like we were obsessed. Yeah, I don't know. It has a very special place in my heart because it make me come with terms my own personal stuff and my own personal life, and I don't know. It opened a lot of doors for me, and not only because I could collaborate with people and make art about it, but because it actually broke something inside of me, and I don't know. I think it's better that way, you know.
Yeah, no, totally. Right, because I remember, I think I heard you talk about this before another time, but like once Life is Strange fans, like the website got going, you were just making fan art like all the time for different contests and things like that. So, like you said, really turning your life upside down, like, you didn't know that when you first played episode 1.
I didn't know at all. Like, I saw the website because the main account of Life is Strange shared it, and I dived in and I saw all these people talking in the live chat and actually having people to discuss about it. And I saw Chris was struggling because he didn't expect many people coming in. And that's how we actually met. Like, I'm like, hey, can I help you with something? Because you seem to be a little bit stressed with all this. Yeah, we hit it off. We started to talk about Life is Strange and then the website, what could be better, where I could help. I ended up being a mod and after that, the co administrator of it. And yeah, we eventually became friends and we still talk every day.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I like that too, of just seeing like, not knowing where it would take you or all of that stuff. For me, I've had a similar experience, but much later down the line. I'd only like played games some probably growing up more. Like I played like some shooters or sports games or things like that. But then in college, I played the Telltale Walking Dead games, like you mentioned, and I was like, whoa, video games can be this. Like, having those harsh choices and like those emotional moments and all of that. I was like, whoa, video games can be something else. And so I was like looking online and I looked up some like list of like what are games that are like Telltale's Walking Dead, and Life is Strange showed up on there, and there was like a I don't know a flash sale for like Thanksgiving or something, and so I was like, okay, cool, I'll pick this up. Like it's $4, and like you, I was sort of hesitant. I was like, I don't know, like a teen photographer kind of thing. Like, is this gonna be cool? Is this gonna be my thing? And likewise, became obsessed after playing. Once I finished, like I was like, oh my god, I need more. I like signed up for Reddit that I'd never used before, but I was like, oh, I got to see if people talk about this, and then ran into like a super active community that was already there for years before I ever knew about it, and like, started reading a bunch of fan fiction. One of the early ones I actually read was one that you co-wrote called Play Crack the Sky, and was
Yeah.
like, floored by it. And I was just like, whoa, there's so much here. And also at that like same time, I was doing a different podcast and it didn't work out. The TV show it was on wasn't very good and got canceled. And so I was like, okay,
Oh
what do
boy.
I yeah. And so I was like, do I want to keep podcasting? Do I want to make a new one? And I was like, video games, Telltale, that was really cool, and I like this Life is Strange game. Maybe there's more like that. Ultimately leads to, being here years later, having played all the Life is Strange games. Life is Strange is one of my favorite games ever. Like, hold it super dearly, and have been podcasting about games. I don't know. Shortly after playing these, for the first time, it just like became the thing I was into. So it's pretty cool. I feel like for both of us, Life is Strange has certainly made a big impact on each of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I noticed that it never happened to me before, like being compelled to add to it, like it never happened. It happened to me, but in a more personal level. Like I am a big fan of Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and I had my own stories in my head, but just for me. And Life is Strange made me want to put my stuff out there. Like, I want to draw. I want people to share this and maybe comment on it, or write stories that complement the game or continue the game after it ended. And I think a lot of people happen to need that. Like, people became so obsessed over it that we need more content. And I'm like, okay, people need more content, and I need to get it off my system. So I think most of the people that write fan fiction or make fun art are just as obsessed as the public. So it's like, okay, I'm going to put this out there so everyone else can enjoy it as much as I do.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. I felt similar about like deciding to make the podcast. Kind of thought was like, I like this game. It was impactful to me. It was probably impactful to other people, and maybe they want to talk about it, you know, and like hear other people's thoughts on it. And that kind of like just got things rolling. And I've felt that way about like, I try to think that way about each game I play since. You know, each game has different sized fandoms and stuff, but like, there are people that a game they really care about and was impactful to them, and that's cool to, I don't know, share that and be a part of that together with people and that kind of thing, which is cool. Like, I don't know, cool this allows for that.
Yeah, it's a connection you share with other people you may not know or be, I don't know, acquaintances for a while, but you share that, and it's pretty powerful.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, so that's kind of where we're coming from. You know, both major Life is Strange fans whose lives were turned upside down. Another question I think that's worth talking about before we finally dig into the remaster itself, which is what our kind of feelings or expectations were when the remaster got announced and, you know, kind of leading up to it. So what were you kind of thinking once you found out about this?
When I found out, I wasn't sure at all. Like, I don't know, it has been a pretty complicated thing with Dontnod stepping down of the franchise and Square Enix rolling in with Deck 9, and that kind of weird tension, you know, like, okay, I'm not so like convinced that someone else is grabbing the story and making whatever the fuck they want, you know. And,
Right.
it felt to me as a creator and as an artist, I'm like, I am not sure about this, you know. Especially with the same happened with me with Before the Storm. I wasn't sure. Like, this is not alright. But yeah, the remaster thing, we're like, do we really need a remaster? Is it necessary? Because it's not that old of a game. I can understand a remaster of a game that came out, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago.
Right.
But it hasn't been that long. And I understand why, but I don't know. I wasn't convinced, to be honest.
Yeah. I felt similar. It's like, you know, I could still play Life is Strange on my PS4 or my PS5. So it's like, do we need, you know, it makes sense for a game that you can't play on like your recent console gens, like you said. But since it's still so recent, I was like, do we need this? Or do I want this or whatever? So I did feel kind of similar in that of not really sure about it. And really, I don't even know if I would have bought it if when I bought Life is Strange True Colors, they had like the Ultimate Edition that was like, I think it was like $60 for the main game, $70 for with the DLC, and then $80 for the getting Life is Strange remastered with it. So I was like, well, if it's $10 more, like I might as well get it because, you know, I'm not going to buy it for less than $10 ever again, probably. So I might as well just do it.
Yeah, I guess the bundle was convenient, yeah.
Yeah, I think the bundle was convenient, but if they would have just if it would have just gotten released on its own, I don't know if I would have bought it. Like, at least not right away, kind of thing. Like, maybe I would have waited.
Probably wait for sale and stuff like that because you already know the game. So it's like,
right. And with like a remaster that, like you said, do we really even need this? Like, I think if it was like an old game and it's like, oh man, I love this game, you know, on my old PS3 or something, you know, like from way back in the day. And it's like, oh man, I could finally play it again. Sure, I could see that. But instead it was like, no, I mean, I played this a few years ago on the console I still use.
yeah, I mean, the same happened to me, like, I mean, I am being waiting almost desperately for BioWare, I don't know, suddenly coming up with a Dragon Age Origins remaster because we need that, for example. Like, trying to play that game nowadays, it's freaking torture. You get crashes all the time. It's like, it's not updated for new gen PCs or anything. And it's like, I don't want to go through these nightmares just because I love this game. I need a remaster for that. But Life is Strange just it keeps running. Like you say, you could play on your PS4, PS5. Like it's still available and it doesn't crash all the time or anything. So why do we need a remaster?
Yeah, totally. Cool. Okay, so I feel like we both are really coming into this remaster at sort of the same spot. Huge fans, but then also kind of, do we need this? You know, that sort of deal. So I think that's helpful for listeners to have in mind here. Of this is what we came in with. You may have come in with different things, but this is sort of what we stepped into once we got into the remaster. So okay, played the remaster. You played both Before the Storm and Life is Strange, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I played Life is Strange, and I played most of Before the Storm. I didn't play the last episode because it got pretty buggy, and I don't really like that episode, so it was easier to not play anyway.
Yeah, I hear you, man. The last episode Before the Storm, it's like, oh my god, no, I don't want to go through this again.
Yeah, I was glad it was buggy, so it made it easy to not play that. And then I did play Farewell. So you played everything. I played almost everything. So we're coming in, I guess, with that. So playing the remaster, what were kind of some of your favorite things that you played that you enjoyed in this?
I love the lighting in some places. I think the higher contrast style on the visuals was an improvement. Actual grass too, like it's not the terrain just painted, hand painted. You have actual grass around, which is pretty stupid, but you know, it's a town in the middle of the woods. Like it added to it. And the eyes in the characters is such a huge improvement.
Yeah, I agree. Their eyes were way better. I like that too. For me, I think that, you know, like you said, there are different improvements I saw along the way, but a big one that really like stood out to me when I was playing was finally in like episode 5, you're, you know, at the lighthouse getting ready to like have your big decisions, and something that was cool was you could like see their hair blowing, you know, before where it was just kind of like, I don't know, just wet looking hair.
Stiff.
That's all. Yeah. Wet, stiff hair before. Now it's, you know, it's actual hair. So you're seeing strands like blow, that kind of thing. And then also in those conversations, you actually see tears like coming down the characters' faces for Max and Chloe. And I thought that was pretty cool and like made that, it heightened that motion, that like moment. Like I felt that moment more than I thought I would. Like, not that I didn't think I'd feel it, but I was just like, oh, these tears like really work. And then I went back and played actually the ending of the first game or of the original to kind of see, and watched it without the tears and, you know, seeing the hair be different. Now it's like, I think that the remaster got this right. I like this. Like this is pretty cool.
Yeah, there are spots, especially with the cinematic stuff, that it works pretty awesomely. Like you said, the lighthouse scene. I was like, okay, this is hurting me all over again, but in HD. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
I'm not ready to see these characters being, I don't know, destroyed in 4K, and that kind of stuff, and it looked awesome.
Yeah.
And the same happened with other like scenes, for example, the alternate timeline with Chloe asking you to crank to 11 the morphine stuff. And like, oh my god, this is so painful. But I am seeing like the tears and the expression on Matt's face where she was like trying to hold back the tears and the lips trembling. And I don't know, it was really, really an improvement there.
Totally agree. I thought that like, those moments were super emotional and like, wrecked us both, I'm sure, the first time we played or even subsequent times. But then to be able to add those things to it made those moments even bigger or weightier feeling. And I think that's something they did quite well with the remaster, which is cool. Yeah. We've got a bit of listener feedback that came in also about people's favorite things, and I think they chime in on some things related to this. So I can read a couple of these for us, and we can dialogue on them if we want. First up, we got Adam on Twitter, who said, probably my favorite thing was the complete recapture of facial animations giving more life to the characters. Chris continues similarly and says, I love the updated character models and more detailed textures and facial animations. Callum also says on Twitter, favorite thing so far are the improvements they've made to the facial animations and models. Yeah, I think that those did really go far of... yeah, I don't know. I really like that improvement. And they still look like them. I didn't feel like they were that different to me. It still felt like Max and Chloe or anyone else.
Yeah, I think it also adds that the dialogues are the same, the voices are the same, and they get the essence of the character, especially on Chloe. Matt looks a bit different from the original, but it's not that big of a change that you don't recognize her. And yeah, I think the best we can say the remaster did was the facial animations and the lip sync. Because it's not perfect, but by far it's not perfect, but it works a lot better because you see the cinematics or the situations in the original game. And this sort of blah 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 they do because they are not pronouncing anything, they're just moving their mouth, And when you see them actually moving their lips accordingly to what they are saying or the expressions, and I think it's the best thing they did. Overall.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. Because I remember times on the original Life is Strange where if it was a little more buggy, like maybe episode 5, especially where it was like the characters' mouths might not even be moving that much,
yes.
but the words are coming out and stuff. And like for me, I wasn't that bothered by those things, but seeing the improvement was really really nice.
I think most of us could totally ignore the lip sync issue because we were so hooked up on the story, Like, you wouldn't care. You don't care how they look or if the lips are synced or if their expressions are actually what they're saying they are. It doesn't matter. You're so into the story and the dynamic they have that you don't even register what is going on. In fact, I remember not noticing the lip sync until someone else mentioned it. Like, this game doesn't have a lip sync. I was like, you're actually right, mate. I didn't realize that. I was too worried about these two girls,
No, I was the same way actually, as I didn't even catch some of those things until they were pointed out, and I was like, oh, yep, that is there. And I think that maybe some of it's too that I wasn't expecting it to be that. Like, Life is Strange didn't come out and be like, we're the best technical game that's been gamed, like they're not trying to act like that. Instead, they're like, we're going to tell a story that's going to hit you in the feels kind of thing. And you're like, yeah, you did that. So that was the thing I was focused on.
Yeah, I guess because of the expectations we had, because we were like, I'm not sure this is my kind of thing. And when you dive into the story, that's what matters to you. The technical stuff, it's like in a second playing, you don't actually get too picky about it.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I would notice it way more if it was something like a Last of Us, where they like put forward that like, our tech is really good and our games look great and blah, blah, blah. If there were like lip sync issues there, you'd be like, oh, what? This is so not like you. But because of this, like you said, I don't know, our expectations were set in one way. So when we got what we got, it was fine. I'll continue with what people had to say. Shane on Twitter said, my favorite thing was the slight improvements to the visuals, especially Chloe's model. Continuing with this, Kos on Twitter said, the remaster was great for the facial animations. Tiny and Tired on Twitter said, so happy for lip syncing to voices. They did such a great job fixing this. Oh, yeah. And then next we got Chris on Twitter who said, one thing I don't mind is the remaster was how they changed the episode selection in Life is Strange 1 to be like Before the Storm. I don't know what they mean by that. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, because they made a whole new menu to choose the episodes. Before the storm, you could just go to you couldn't just continue the game from the main menu. You had to go to episodes and pick the episode on a different screen, and then you have the kind of checkpoints. You could like restart the episode or continue where you left off. Personally, I didn't like that menu.
Okay.
I think it was a bit confusing. I think it was a bit confusing on the UI stuff because you didn't actually know if you could continue, if you lost your save. I don't know. It was a bit confusing to me. I don't know. Maybe it's the game developer talking here, but that flow doesn't work that well, in my opinion. I don't know.
No, that's good. I was like trying to remember, and I like looked at him, and I was like, I don't know. But it'd been so long since I played the original with its menu, so I was like, I don't really remember. The last
It was
thing
pretty much straightforward, way more straightforward than it is now.
Okay, it sounds like the old way's better then. I trust you as the developer here. I trust you. Last up, Mark on Twitter said, my favorite thing is that people are talking about my favorite game again. I think that's a good favorite thing. I have found myself a bit more in the rabbit hole of Life is Strange than I thought. Like last night, after I finished Farewell, I went and dove into a little bit of fan fiction, and I haven't done that in quite a while, and I was like, oh man, is the obsession coming back as strong? But I do like this. I think that going back to this world, spending time in it, even with we'll talk about it in a little bit, but even the things I didn't like about it, the things that I did like did definitely bring me back to the stuff I love about this game and series. So I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's the good thing we can rescue from this is that it bursts back to the game, because life happens, you move on, the game is still there, but you're not so compelled to play it anymore because you already know the story by heart, in my case, almost. I played it too many times. I'm like, I don't want to keep playing this. I think I'm okay to move on, to something else. And it brings you back to the good old days. It's the nostalgia of playing it again and sharing with people, and remember that scene, and starting the debate all over again, and the Marine shippers and Priceful shippers throwing chairs at each other. It's like coming back to those days where everyone was just talking about it and sharing stuff about it, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was something that I've really enjoyed, and I think I'm going to look forward to over the next bit of time while Life is Strange has its grasp on me, and I'm going to try to keep following that rabbit hole, because I'm I think I'm ready to be in, and I don't know, get hurt again more or something. I don't know.
I mean, we are kind of masochists at this point. We already know that.
That's true. To willingly go through some of these moments again and again. I think you are right. Okay, so we got to see some of the good side, I would say, of the remaster. I think that we also need to talk about the bad side of it a bit. So what was kind of your least favorite stuff in the remaster that you'd experienced?
Oh man. I am going to make a disclaimer here because I feel like I need to. I understand how freaking hard it is to make a remaster of a game.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it. I've been there, I understand what it entails, and it's a headache. It would be easier almost to do it from scratch. Mm-hmm. Because you're diving into someone else's code, and games are this thing, every game that shipped is a miracle. It doesn't matter in what state. Because That's how messy game development is. It's not just like writing a bunch of code and hoping it works. Like there's millions of systems working at the same time, and any game working is a miracle. So remastering something that it's a bit all in a different engine, out of date, and it's someone else's code that maybe, I don't know, is tied with wire, because sometimes you have to do that in order to make the deadlines or ship it, you know. I understand how freaking hard it is to make a remaster of this caliber, but Jesus Christ, it was so buggy, like especially visually. I had a few weird stuff going on, like I don't know, suddenly I was playing Before the Storm and Chloe was glowing like a freaking ghost. And like everything was so bright. The entire sequence of Rachel's father talking about Rachel's mom, it's kind of a cinematic stuff, but it was so glowy I couldn't see anything. I didn't see the slides or anything, and suddenly it was that everyone was just glowing. I had to like restart the game to make it go away. And this stuff like colliders not being in the proper places, getting stuck, falling off the map, like stuff like was really bad.
Oof.
Like, what the hell is this? Like, I understand it's really hard to make it work, but come on. Like, suddenly I'm playing Ghostbusters. What is this? Or missing subtitles, getting stuck in the cars on the Nightmare on episode 5 of Life is Strange. Like, the rebooting, like, I don't know, we had to rewind time and suddenly you spawn somewhere else randomly. Like it was horrible in many places. And then the awful optimization. Like, I played on PC, right? And I had a really decent GPU. I have a Radeon RX 5000 series. It's the equivalent of 2080 in NVIDIA. And the game was taking 100% use of the GPU. How is that even possible?
Oof.
Like, pretty bad. I was like playing and looking at the temperatures on the GPU. Like the hotspot was at 95 degrees.
Oh my god.
Like Celsius. Like, what is this? Like, I could play a game that came out yesterday without any issues at all, and keeping the GPU on a normal temperature, not melting. And the remaster couldn't do that. Like, I don't know, buggy with that kind of stuff. I was actually worried that would cut short my GPU lifespan, because Jesus. And I was actually surprised, because it's Unreal Engine. Like, it shouldn't be that bad, but it was. And I don't know, the pacing issues with the loading screen in certain places. Like, you took the selfie on the classroom, and then you go to the Nightmare on the Lighthouse, and then it's a load screen.
Mm-hmm.
It cuts you off. It just puts you off the entire thing. And it happened with the episode 3 jump, going back to see William. Like, there's a loading screen there that wasn't there before, and it's just like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not into this anymore. It's just a fraction of a second. And yeah, I saw Michael Koch talking about it. Like, they went through so much trouble to avoid those loading screen in key moments to keep the pace, and now they are there, and it's sad.
Yeah, I bet that sucks for them to like see the game that they worked really hard on get like a quote unquote glow up, and then to see something like that be fucked up and be like, come on, like that's a thing we really cared about.
Yeah, I mean, I understand how freaking hard it must have been for them to avoid loading screens in between levels and the engineering behind it, just to keep the pacing of the story because it's what matters, right? And then, I don't know, being at the lighthouse, having the lighthouse falling on you, and then you jump back to the classroom, but you have a loading screen in between. Uh, it was pretty sad to see.
Yeah, I agree. I had, unfortunately, the same experience of bugginess, like you talked about in when Rachel's dad was talking through like memory lane of meeting her mom or whatever. Same thing was for me. It was just a bright light. You couldn't see anything. And that's where I stopped playing the game, or maybe shortly after that. I went to until doing the stars in Rachel's room, and then I was like, all right, that's the last good thing in this episode. See ya. Uh, but yeah, it was crazy though. Like everyone's colors were so messed up. I took a couple of pictures that I guess I'll throw on Twitter after we put this out. But like, I've Rachel was red in that scene.
Oh my god.
Yeah. She just was like a red person. It was very strange. Like it looked like her skin fell off or was Red Skull or something like that. It was bizarre. Um, I had two hard crashes where like I was playing on PS5 and it just stopped the game and kicked me out like entirely.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And then also in Life is Strange, the main game, like probably maybe episode 2 onward, the subtitles just kept being the names of the files, where it was like, Max Hallway dialogue 2 or whatever, like that kind of stuff.
That's pretty bad in terms of accessibility because
Yeah,
there's people that actually need the subtitles to play, and having that jump in is like, ugh.
yeah, terrible for accessibility. And I saw a band-aid online where you could like turn it to French for a little while and then switch it back to English and it would work. But then you'd have to do it like each chapter or each like cut or whatever.
Well, that's not okay.
Yeah, not okay. And then it stopped working. So then I just played like I think episode 3, 4, and 5 without subtitles, which, like you said, for accessibility, I don't need them. But I do feel like for like story-based games like this, you want subtitles because you don't want to answer a question wrong based on what someone said. Like being able to read that and be like, you know, what do you think about this thing? And you're like, what did they ask me? I don't know. To be able to have the subtitles as backup is really helpful. One time back in the day with Walking Dead, I didn't have the subtitles on, and maybe like Kenny or someone asked me a question, and I didn't catch what he asked me, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna answer, and like, hopefully I answer it right, like, it's like, subtitles I think are imperative for games like these, because like, if your dialogue is the thing that matters, like, oh man, you can't have it get fucked up. But also, as you said, for accessibility, really important. Yeah, this was for me. I guess backing it up to, like you said, I totally believe that, like you said, any game being made is a miracle. Like managing to put together all of these things together with a bunch of people working across a bunch of disciplines and all of that, like, it's a miracle games get made. And so I'm not like, I don't think I'm upset at Deck 9 specifically for this. I would almost feel like this is probably Square Enix's fault. That, like, why didn't you delay this? It's not like people have been, like, hotly anticipating Life is Strange Remaster in the sense that, like, I can't wait to see this story continued. Like, sure, there are huge fans who want a remaster, but, like, if this got delayed 6 months, I don't think it would have made a difference.
No, and also the fact that it was delayed once. I mean, if it was delayed once because it was supposed to come out at the same time as True Colors, right? And if this is the state of the game now, in February, like, how was it before? Like, what the hell? And yeah, this is the thing with big publishing and stuff, like this thing of pushing for dates. We have seen plenty of bad examples in the past few months. I'm looking at you, Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, they push people to work a lot. I don't know. Game development is full of these nightmare stories of people getting burned out, working, I don't know, 100 hours per week just to meet a deadline. And the public that usually demands games to be released at any stage, they're usually a small minority, very vocal, very loud, but a small minority. So if we understand that we can't just run people through the ground to make it to the deadline, but it happens, delays happen, stuff happens, you're making a remaster of something that it's all outdated and like complicated. I wouldn't have minded at all if they pushed the date back again, but yeah, stakes and stokes and companies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like if they would have, like, when True Colors came out and they're like, hey, actually this isn't coming out then, I feel like they could have just said something like that and been like, hey, we've been diving into it and, like, you know, some of this code is so old and from, you know, blah, 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 like, it's going to take us longer. We're not even going to put a date on it because we want to make sure the remaster is good when it comes out. Like, I think that, like, longtime fans probably could have just accepted that. Some would be disappointed, sure, but, like, I think you could accept that. Because I think on the other side, what sucks is, like, if you were someone who's never played Life is Strange and you were like, cool, the remaster came out, like, I'm gonna finally play this series, like, fuck, you've really gotten, like, that is an unfortunate way to dive into this game series. Like, you could just be like, oh, this series sucks, and just leave, which is not how either of us feel at all. So it's like, it really sucks that this was so buggy.
Yeah, it's especially for new people, like you said, because I don't know, we had experience back in our time, like back then playing the original one, but it's not the same. And yeah, I don't blame at all Deck 9 for the state of the game itself. I truly believe that every game developer wants the games they are working on to turn up great. I mean, that's the point. And I'm going to insert myself here, like, we work because we want it to be alright. It's not like you see online this stupid discourse of game developers being lazy or like they should work harder and stuff like that. It's a vocal minority, but very vocal, very loud. And I'm like, dude, no game developer wants to ship out a broken game. We don't want that. It just happens, you know.
Right. No, totally. I agree. I think that's I feel the exact same way. No issue towards Deck 9. And same thing. No game developer wants that. I think that Square Enix is just like, probably like, well, this is what we want to do. You're going to do it. And I'm sure Deck 9, I'm sure some of the stuff they got, like when they got given all the old Life is Strange files, they're probably like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? Like, like, you know, the person who made it when they made it was fine and they probably understand it. But like me just being, you know, given a project to revise or whatever, like what? That would be challenging, for sure. So, yeah, bit of a bummer on the buggy side. We've got some comments from people who have some similar things to say. Tiny and Tired on Twitter said, I'm sad we lost some of the watercolor effect of the art in favor of more quote-unquote realism. Max didn't really look like Max anymore. I'm actually going to pause on that one. I agree. I did like kind of the color of the OG Life is Strange more than this. This felt more modern-y, quote-unquote, like they said, but I think I do prefer kind of the old texture and feels as well.
I think I actually like how it looked because it looked closer to True Colors. True Colors is beautiful. It's such a beautiful game. And it still retained that same style if you pay attention to it. I think the higher contrast colors helped it out a lot more because the original kind of looks washed now, if you look at it. But it kept the hand painted textures, the images, the photos. Like it's on the same style but a bit more refined. I wouldn't quote and say that it's realism at all. It's Life is Strange is stylized no matter where you look. But yeah, I think it's a matter of just preference, not because it's better or worse. It's just different, and keeping the same style anyway, just improve.
Yeah, that's a good point of just preference. And I feel like I am going to defer to you on knowing how the colors work, since this is very much so your arena of knowing. So I feel like you've probably both, professionally understand that far better than me. And then also practically, I bet you've played the OG Life is Strange more than I have. So I bet you have a better grasp of comparing the two than I might. So, and I do agree. I thought True Colors was beautiful. So I think if things do lean that way, that's not a bad thing, for sure. Let's see. Chris on Twitter wrote in and said the lighting issues / glitches in several scenes are a letdown, but hopefully an upcoming patch will fix those. I agree. I hope a patch does make this game playable, especially for those new people who have never played a Life is Strange game. I hope that if someone is wanting to play this series and they haven't, I hope they found out there were glitches ahead of time and didn't buy it, and then can wait until there's patches and then can dive in, if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, hopefully there are stuff they can fix. I do think that there may be stuff that can't be fixed, and it's like a known issue. That's gonna happen for sure. But yeah, at least, I don't know, no more glowy people or red people or
Right.
like getting stuck in cars, falling off the map, like stuff like that we can fix, I hope.
I agree. Adam on Twitter wrote in and said, my least favorite thing is how they took the credits out of the first Life is Strange game. Which I hadn't noticed the first time, but then I did go back and look at the credits, and all the Deck 9 ones do come first, which I was kind of surprised by.
But the Dontnod stuff is still there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is at the end, so maybe Adam didn't watch till the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I understand that the first devs to come on the credits are the ones that worked on the remaster. It makes sense. I didn't feel like they would just scrap away the credits on Dontnod. Like, I saw people like complaining that the Dontnod logo isn't there and blah blah blah. And then, yeah, sure, but check out the credits. Usually, that's how you figure out if everything is alright or not.
Yeah, I think that like you said, I guess it does make sense that the people that work on it would be their credits would come first. Like, I guess if I was someone who worked on this remaster, I would be kind of disappointed if my name was shoved at the back. I'm like, I actually helped get this here. I didn't make it the first time, but that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
but it's a whole work on its own, trying to patch up and update something that it's old and stuff. Like,
Yeah. Something I did see that I was surprised by. I didn't notice it when I was playing, but in the credits for the Life is Strange 1 remaster, it had voice actors credited for the Deck 9 part 2. So I don't know if they redid any lines with people or not. But I saw their names in there, so I thought it was weird.
yeah, that's actually weird. But maybe because they were on the first one, they are using the lines.
That might be it. I don't know. I was surprised by that. Let's see. Late to Gaming on Twitter said, my least favorite thing is that it's digital only. Callum on Twitter says, least favorite is probably quite a small thing, but I don't like that they changed the logos for the remastered game to be much less stylized, more similar to the True Colors one.
I don't think they actually did that much. Like, they look better in terms of resolution. What I did notice that I was thrown off by was that the Before the Storm logo was blue when it was actually pink the first time. I'm like, why would you change that? That was weird.
Yeah, I did notice that. I thought I didn't notice what it was, but I was like, this isn't the same. But I couldn't figure out why. That's good to hear the pink thing. I'm surprised they changed their own thing too. I feel like them changing Life is Strange OG things makes more sense. But before the storm, I would have thought they would have left more alone. But let's see. Kos on Twitter said it removed a lot of the paintery watercolor properties of the original. Not everything has to be super realistic to have value. We had one kind of earlier on that. Shane on Twitter said, my least favorite thing is it's not released day and date on Nintendo Switch. So it's coming out later on Switch. And also that there wasn't a re-release of the CD music albums.
Yeah. The Nintendo Switch thing. I mean, it's hard enough to make a remaster. It's hard enough to get it on 3 different platforms, like PC, Xbox, PlayStation. Nintendo Switch has a completely different architecture, and not only that, but it's a lot less powerful in terms of what it can do. And considering the state of my GPU almost frying itself, I can't understand why Switch isn't running it just now. Like, I don't know, the Nintendo Switch delays are something expected at this point. Like, it's not as easy as people think.
Yeah, I wonder if they should have just not included Switch at the beginning and just were like, no, it's not coming to Switch at this time. And then later they could be like, guess what's coming to Switch? I wonder if they kind of messed up in how they talked about it in the first place.
Yeah, I guess it's a thing of marketing and like getting the game in as many platforms as possible to, money.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. I'm sure Square Enix just said, money though, put it on Switch, and Deck Nine's like, fine.
I mean, I understand that it's hard, but you hear that catching, get it rolling.
Square Enix says, did you not hear that cash register? God. Mark on Twitter said, my least favorite thing, for better or worse, is how much I noticed the teeth. Did you notice teeth?
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, I understand why, because now they are so white. It's like, do you know that app for the phone called Face App?
Yeah.
You take a picture of you and they put a random AI generated freaking smile and makes you look like a psychopath. Well, it kind of had the same effect because the teeth are so white and so present. So like the facial animations are better, so you see more teeth. And it's actually distracting sometimes.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one for you and that Mark wrote that in, because I noticed teeth too a few times and I was like, why am I looking at teeth?
Yes. Yeah, they call more your attention than the actual, expression in the eyes and the environment. It's like you suddenly ignore all that. You're looking straight to their teeth and like, oh my god, why am I doing this? Why am I like this?
Yep, exactly. Ludo Narrative on Twitter wrote in and said the 480p cutscene at the end of episode 1, crying face emoji.
Yes, I noticed that too. Like the rest of the scenes had a few issues because, as far as I could tell, they were pre-rendered videos, so they had to re-render everything with the new models and stuff. So it's a pain in the ass. Like, pardon my French, but it's hard to do. Re-render everything. I saw people also complaining about the pictures of the models not being updated with the actual new faces. I understand it's a lot of work. We don't actually know the schedule for working on this. They had to prioritize other stuff than taking the pictures all over again. But yeah, I did notice that the first cutscene was so low res at the point that I had two black bars on the sides. Like it wasn't even widescreen. I'm like, what is this? Oh wow. Yeah, it was like all pixelated and the trees look weird and the lighting is off, and then suddenly I noticed I have two bars on the sides. Like, okay, this is resized and awfully done. But yeah, I noticed that too. It was not great.
No, that isn't. Last we got Chris on Twitter who said, I'm shocked they didn't improve upon the character models. Some still look PS2-ish. Just imagine if they'd remade the first game from the ground up with Naughty Dog quality graphics.
Oh no, boy.
Yeah. I think that's probably too high of a desire. But animations and re-released it in 2025 when the franchise turns 10. Now that's a game I'd rather play. I think their ambition is probably too high there, for sure. But I do think that thought of, like, could they have just remade it if they really wanted to and put it out in 2025 instead? That probably would have made more sense based on what we got so far. Like, if you really wanted to go all in on the, like, Life is Strange, the original, like, we really want to make this be awesome and a moneymaker or whatever, that does seem better than kind of what we got. I would agree with that, like, concept.
Yeah, I think it's a wasted opportunity there, that's for sure. They could just work on it quietly and release it for the 10 years anniversary. That would be cool. But here we like walk back to the same issue we talked before, like this thing with the art and realism and what sells more and what you have so wide different opinions. Like, I want Life is Strange to be hyper realistic, like Naughty Dog game, and people are complaining that the watercolor and the hand painted texture are missing now.
Right.
And again, it's the thing with preferences, and I am more on the side that not everything needs to be hyper realistic to be good.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of value nowadays that we have different range of art styles in games, because the hyper realistic stuff with the power the console have nowadays and the PCs, every game will look the same. Every single game will look the same if we go to hyperrealism. So we need to focus now more than ever on what can make a game stand out from the bunch of hyperrealistic stuff. And I don't know, I can't even fathom the idea of realistic, hyperrealistic Life is Strange. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird, dude.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if I would want that. Like, there's something that's... I don't know. I guess this whole thing for me, I feel like, just keeps going back to, like, the first game was so special, and so I don't want things to be that different than it, just to work better. That's probably how I mostly feel. Just because it just holds that special place kind of thing. Like, I guess, too, if you, like, remade the game, like, I would hate to have, like, voice actors get recast or something like that. Like, that it would
be awful.
Yeah, like, if Ashley Birch isn't Chloe, it's not Chloe. I don't care. Even if there were a lot of other things I'd like, I'm like, no, she's Chloe to me. You know what I mean? Or
I mean, it happened a lot with Before the Storm. When
Right.
they recasted, because of the strike, the voice actors were on strike at the time. And as much as I love Rihanna's take on Chloe, because I actually like her, it was really hard to get used to Chloe having a different voice. And you can compare right away with Farewell. Like in the Farewell DLC, we had Hannah Tell and Ashley Birch playing the roles. And you should finish Before the Storm, where Chloe sounded completely different. Again, no hard feelings on Rihanna at all. I think she did a great job on that. But still, the contrast is too big. Imagine if they recasted the entire set of characters. Like, Mats wouldn't be Mats at all.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think that those characters have to be who they first were. It would be too weird otherwise. Okay, so we've gotten to talk about kind of our highlights and lowlights, I would say, of the game itself. But, we do have a bunch of other experiences kind of along the way of playing this game. So one thing I thought could be good to talk about is anything we were surprised by playing. I know for me, I mentioned the last time I played this was back in 2018, so, there are definitely things I'd forgotten or things like that, so... I don't know. Did you have anything like that where you played and you were surprised by something as you went?
For the original one, the Life is Strange one,
Or Before the
I
Storm, either
think,
way.
yeah, I mean, Before the Storm is, oh my god. I will never shut up about it, I think. But the original one, I do remember, I mean, it was a lot more painful than I remember because I played it so many times that eventually you're like, yeah, Chloe will die here, or you have to make a terrible choice there, or that kind of stuff. You already know how the story goes. You saw it several times, but it's been a while since I played, and the old timeline with Chloe on the wheelchair, Jesus.
Oh, so painful.
Man, what the hell? That was such a low blow. I felt so guilty the first time. I'm like, this is torture, man. Like, this character can catch a break. And I don't know, I didn't feel like I wanted to go through that again. And now I understand why. Because watching it again was horrible, painful. And the nostalgia, that feeling you get when you're playing Life is Strange, that it never goes away. It's still there regardless of the bugs or the graphical issues and stuff like that. It's still Life is Strange. If that makes any sense.
Does.
And yeah, well, my issues with Before the Storm got a lot worse. I mean,
Yeah.
I try to not be vocal about it. I have my set of issues with Before the Storm as a concept, like its existence, rather in
Yeah.
the wrong way. Rachel as a character, I don't know. People love her. I don't understand why.
Right.
She's such a bad influence and manipulative, and everyone is like, oh, but they love each other. Like, God, no. That's not what love is, man. And having to play it all over again and reaching episode 3 when the story itself just takes a weird freaking turn, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And I don't know, Chloe doing stupid shit that she wouldn't do, doing it, and then, I don't know, getting into the barn, getting kicked in the head, and suddenly you are not aware if you're dreaming or not, and Rachel's mom is there smoking and not assisting you at all because, I mean, she is unconscious on the floor with a blow to the head, and she wasn't doing anything, and you, I don't know, it was so weird. And having to play through that again, it's like, oh my god, I remember why I played this once, only once.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like I made the right call not playing most of episode 3 for
Oh
that.
my god, yes,
Yeah.
that was the smartest thing to do, just turn it off.
Yeah, I'm glad I got out before. Because I think playing Before the Storm, for me, I think we probably have the same issues with it, too. Because, like, I think the parts of Before the Storm that are good are really, really good. Like, I absolutely love the Tempest play. I think it's so good. And, like, that moment where Chloe gets forced into being in the play and doing the lines with Rachel, especially if you do them all right, like, it's really magical and super nice. Like, really like that. Or Chloe in the junkyard smashing shit after she has that fight with Rachel and, like, breaks down. It's so good. Like, those parts are really, really good. But then anything that involves Damon, anything that involves Rachel's mom, are, like, the fucking stupidest. And I hate them. They're so bad. They don't even make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And actually, I know we weren't supposed to discuss this, but I need to say it.
No, do
In episode 3, I think, when Elliot shows up, and you're going through the files, trying to get rid of the evidence for Damon and stuff, and Elliot shows up. Creepy as hell, but he actually makes valid points, which is really annoying. Like, everything he says about Rachel using Chloe and all that stuff, he's spot on. Like, he actually makes the arguments valid, and suddenly throws a fit and I don't know, goes insane and violent, and it's basically okay. Well, you made very compelling points, but scratch that. You know,
Right.
they just erase the entire thing. I'm like, why would you do this? I mean, he's right, but then you turn into a freaking monster, like smashing stuff and keeping Chloe against her will. And like, why this character had to be the one to be right? So no one else will listen to him because he's insane.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah,
No.
I have a lot of issues with that. I'm sorry.
No, you're right, and also he sucks too. I kind of forgot about him because in the first episode, he like asked, "Hey, do you want to go to the play?" And I just shut him down really hard, and then just didn't talk to him the rest of the game. I just avoided him. Um, but
Because he's kind of forgettable as a character. He doesn't add anything to it. Like it's like Warren but amplified, a more violent version of Warren. I'm like, oh my god.
I was gonna say that a much worse Warren for sure. Like people have issues with Warren, and I think they're fair. But Elliot's like on another level, for sure.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Warren is nice and sweet in comparison with Elliot, dude.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. So yeah, my issues with Before the Storm certainly there. Something I did different this playthrough, though, was I decided to like full pursue Rachel in Before the Storm. Normally, I would say my attitude's probably similar to what you've described, where I'm like I can understand like the character's infatuation with Rachel. Like the first game really sets it up of like, whoa, she's this like cool chameleon who's hot and interested in people and mysterious and unique and blah blah blah. I get it. And I can even see how Chloe in Before the Storm, right, when she meets Rachel, like, whoa, a person like that wants to talk to me. I'm like sad, angry Chloe. It like makes sense. But because of what we know in the main game and like all the other things Rachel does with, Frank or Jefferson or whomever. So I've always had sort of I don't know, not all in. I'm not like a Rachel hater, but just not as pro Rachel. But this time when I played though, I decided to go full pursuit of Rachel because I decided maybe that's what Chloe would do. And I did get to see a little bit more of the side of why people like Rachel. I'm like, I can see how someone would get caught up in this. Like, and again, not that she's bad, but just that, like, oh my gosh, we're just falling fastly in love, and I feel all these things, and so do they, and we're just, like, going for it kind of thing. And I think I just understood it a little more than before, and so I thought that was kind of I'm glad I had that experience of maybe seeing the other side of the coin a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like it's unbelievable. I mean, I totally understand why Chloe will fall for her. Like, even if you don't pursue her, like, with the full choices, the keys, and everything, like, I totally understand why she would do anything. Like, it's this thing that it's not just Rachel, but the fact that Rachel knows what to say to her all the time, and Rachel can see through Chloe pretty easily, and Chloe is in a vulnerable state, considering her situation and what happened to her. So she's vulnerable to that kind of influence, and I totally get that she fell for her. And the thing is, in my mind, I understand that she will be in love with Rachel, but I don't see Chloe actually acting up on it. Like, that would make more sense of the fact that she keeps mentioning Rachel in the first one as her friend. I mean, yeah, she has obvious jealous of Frank when she finds out about them hooking up and stuff. Because I felt it was like something she didn't actually pursue, but she felt anyway. But I don't know. That's just my take on it. Like,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Of kind of her and Rachel are best friends. Chloe also loves Rachel, but has never said anything, and so they've been sort of in this spot where Chloe's like, "I love you, but I've never said it," and that kind of thing. I think I could see that because I did notice that when I played the first one of it wasn't like she's my girlfriend or something. Instead, it was like more the like we were each other's person. It was less dating sounding, more best friend sounding. I can see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and like one-sided feelings. It really felt that way, especially when you find Rachel's body in the junkyard and Chloe just breaks down and says it. Like, she says, I love her so much. And I'm like, yeah, I can feel that love there. Yeah, she's best friends, but something more, at least on her side. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I didn't write this down, but since we're talking about Before the Storm mostly right now, another thing I didn't like, which I'd kind of forgotten about, was going and like looking at like how they kind of fucked up the canon with Max and Chloe, like Max being like shitty at texting back and stuff instead of that. Oh, I remember when I first played Before the Storm, I was mad at that and being like, "Fuck you! You changed canon. You're not real." And I felt that way again now because like in my canon and how it felt from the OG Life is Strange is Chloe's dad dies. Sometime around then, Max also moves and just radio silence. And so instead to see like in Before the Storm, there's like a couple text of like, "Hey, let's make a call," and then Max skips the call and is like, "Oh, sorry, I've been busy. Maybe I'll email you," or like that kind of stuff. And it made me so mad reading that.
Yeah, because they make her look like a shitty person. All like, it's not like when you have fallout like that, and with what happens, William dying, Matt's being just a teenager, unable to deal and cope with that. I understand the radio silence a lot more. Like, it was a traumatic event to the point that we know, if you pay attention to the old timeline on the original, that Matt sees the way she is because of William's death. Because if he doesn't die, she ends in the Vortex Club, and it's an overall shitty person. The impact of William's dying, it doesn't affect just Chloe, but Matt's too. And I don't see her like sending texts or trying to skip calls, or like they made her look like the bad guy in the situation, and it was kind of unfair.
Yeah, because the way I've always taken it is that Max like was so anxious and guilty, basically. In that I was reading a fan fiction yesterday that like once I dove back in because of all of this, because I played Farewell yesterday before we recorded this the day before, and then felt real sad after finishing Farewell. So I was like, all right, fan fiction time. And so I was reading this one that was set on like Max's point of view before like after Farewell, but before she like returns back for main game Life is Strange, like that period. And they went through and described this period of like Max like Chloe sends her a text and says like, "Hey Max," and then Max is like, "Can I just reply back, hey, like I just moved in, your dad died, can I say that?" And then a day goes by and she's like, "Well, now I definitely can't just say hey, what do I say?" So then I wrote up like a big draft and I was like, all right, this weekend I'm going to send what I really want to say. And then I chickened out and I didn't do it. And then a week went by, and then another week, and then a month, and then and I time and time again I try to draft up something to send, and then I couldn't do it. And I was like, that's what I really imagine Max being like. I felt like that fic like captured. That's probably what Max was actually going through, of wanting to reach out, but then being so uncertain and feeling bad that it's been so long, and then do I have the right words and like all of that kind of shit. That's what I imagine Max being like.
Yeah, I mean, having had a personal experience in where you don't know what to say, and the more you wait, the worse it gets, and you eventually don't say anything. It's totally believable that she wouldn't even reply because you don't know what to say. Like, how am I supposed to like deal with this situation? Especially if she's 13 years old. I mean, she's still a kid.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you're a kid, you don't know. Yeah. I had one more thing. You mentioned it too on yours, but I was surprised how painful the alt timeline was. Like you said, I remember like feeling sad when I played it the first time. Like I remember the shock at the end of episode 3. She like gets there, and holy fuck, Chloe's in a wheelchair. Floored. And then the next time you're talking to her, and you just all the sadness that's in Chloe's life and the challenges, which obviously makes sense. But oh man, it hit way harder than I thought. Like I remember being sad when I played, and I remember being shocked with the reveal that she was in a wheelchair, and I remember being sad when Chloe asked you to give her too much morphine and trying to navigate that decision. But when I played this, I don't know, last week or whatever, I was like, oh my god, this all makes me so sad. Like I think that during that scene, like in that timeline, I like cried while I was playing, and I didn't expect that at all because I was like, oh man, this is like so much harsher. And I think like we talked about earlier, there's actual tears at points when they're talking, and you're like, this is so fucked. So I did not expect it to make me feel so raw. And so I think that's something that good. I think probably good job on the game, both the remaster and the original, because I'd remembered key moments of that, but the even going deeper and re-experiencing all of it. Oh man, so good. They did such a great job.
Yeah, they did. Like it's like you just said. We kind of remember stuff like, okay, well, Chloe will ask me this here, but it's not the same as going through. I don't know, her family being in debt, William being overworked as Joyce, feeling their pain too, and like finding out stuff around what Chloe's condition, and it makes everything way way worse than just, okay, yeah, Chloe will ask me to just help her die, and it's not the same that diving in and finding all those details, and God, it was awful.
Yeah. Or that like Chloe and you watch Blade Runner, and like you realize as you're talking to her that like no one comes and sees her and talks to her at all, and that you even in the alt timeline had largely blown her off. It sounded like you'd sent a few postcards here and there, but like had also been a shitty friend, and it's just like that's so fucking shitty. Like no one should have to deal with that. It's so sad.
No, it was just terrible, and there I had to say, I love Ashley Spurge's take on Chloe's out timeline because she sounds so different from the main timeline, and you can feel the pain and the weariness in her voice, and the way she like tries to find the actual words to ask you what she needs, and she sounds so defeated, and only just hearing her voice like that is just a blow to the heart.
Yeah. I think Ashley Birch nailed all three like age or times, like the farewell, ninth grade Chloe, the alt timeline Chloe, and present day Chloe. Like they're each different, and you can see pieces of them in each. Like farewell Chloe is still kind of you see touches of like the wild Chloe we know from the main game, but she's still also like a nerd and like likes school and like things like that, and you like see those excitement in those, and then right like you said in the alt timeline you see her defeated, or like like Max says hella and she's like, oh hella, I hate that word, like things like that.
Yes.
You're like, and that she sells it, and it's not like that's who that character is, or and then obviously the Chloe we all know and love. But yeah, Ashley Birch is great. She's so good. Okay. Final kind of big question I had that I thought could be worth talking about is, did we make different choices than we did in the past? So what was your experience? When you play these games, do you just do kind of the same choices? Do you try new stuff out? What was that like?
It depends. I usually kind of explore. It happens with every choice game I play. I kind of explore everything, and then I choose one story that I can make with all those choices. And it becomes kind of my canon. So the story is like this in my head. That's it. And every time I replay, once I explore everything I can, it's like I always play the same way. So since I knew every choice already, I just play with my head canon in mind, and Kate survived. Frank didn't die either. I was friendly to Victoria too in the end, which that was amazing. The fact that you're friendly with Victoria and Warren, and it backfires horribly with her ended up in the dark room with two. But yeah, I just play the same built-up story I had in my head. So yeah, same choices basically.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for me, I did a little bit of a mix. Like I do have some things that happened the first time I played, and I just kind of keep those as canon. I'm like, that's what happened. So for me, like the first time I played, Kate died. So to me, I'm kind of like, yeah, it was sad. And so for me, I'm like, well, I guess she always dies. I think that I've kind of settled on that. Even though it is sad, I would like to, she's a nice character. But
she's so sweet and nice, and the poor girl.
I feel terribly sad for her. But it feels like a canon thing for me. So I'm like, because of that happening the first time. But then I did do other things differently. Like the first time I played, I like made fun of Victoria when when I spilled the paint on her. But this time I was like, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna be nice to her. And so I had that like more positive conversation. And then, like you said, at the end of the game, I went and again, when I found her at the Vortex Club party, I had a nice conversation with her again, but because I knew if I warned her that she'd get captured, I didn't warn her to save her because I knew that she'd end up in the dark room. So I was like, I'm going to not tell you. I'm not going to warn you, but I did have a nice conversation before that where her and Max sort of have that moment where they're like, maybe we aren't that different and could be friends if we like chose to try to. I think that like your art's cool and blah blah blah, like that kind of thing. Yeah, let's see. Also, the first time I played, I killed Frank, but it was it was an accident. I didn't mean to, but that's what happened. And I think the first time I played, I got worried after the Kate experience that I'd run out of rewind power. And so I tried to use it sparingly, because I was like, I don't want to use it all and then need it later. So I let Frank die back then. But this time I was like, I'm not going to kill Frank. I think he's all right. I mean, he's not great, but he's not a bad person entirely or something.
There's a gray there. We like to.
Yeah, he's kind of gray. It's like there are some things that are pretty bad about him, but there are other things that's a little less so. He has those spots where he's like, maybe he's all right. I did some different, some not. So it's fun to explore some of the parts of the game I hadn't played, hadn't seen. Like I'd never personally played Victoria being nice. I'd like seen clips of it before, but I'd never personally experienced it, like playing it. So that was kind of cool to like see some of those moments.
Yeah, in case you missed some of those, and I don't know, it's not the same as watching it on YouTube, like. I mean, you could just look up for playthroughs with different choices and stuff and just experience it all. It's different. So it's a nice opportunity.
Yeah, no, exactly. I feel the same way because I've like gone through YouTube and like looked up things and like Life is Strange fans in general like are really good at cataloging things. Like the wiki for it is really good. Like everything's on there.
Because we are all obsessed,
and it's great. Like I think I saw on one of the wikis, like they have the whole journal in there, so you could just go read the journal if you wanted, like Max's journal or something. Like it's like that's cool. Like that Life is Strange fans go that deep, and you can find all those things. But as you said, there is something different of like I'm in my room playing on my controller on my TV, and I made the choice to have the thing happen, and you're like, oh, like this is, it's more personal, I guess, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else about the remaster that hasn't come up along the way that you wanted to talk about?
I remember. Let me check my notes because I am sure I missed something. Oh yeah, the missed opportunity in Before the Storm to have Steph's face closer to True Colors. Like, I was so weirded out because I saw Stefan before the storm and she looks completely different and not in a good way. Like I don't know what happened there because you had True Colors already came out. You have the grown up version of Steph. Make her look closer to that instead of this person. I don't know who she is. It was weird.
That's a good point. They do already have that. It seems like they should use that, um, and
I mean, it
the.
will make total sense.
Uh-huh.
Like to connect both games and have Steph look like the newest version of her. And instead, I don't know, the original version of Stefan before the storm looked way closer to what Steph is nowadays. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, yeah, that is weird, especially because it's their character. If anyone they want to change, like they made up Steph. Like Steph is a Deck 9 original, so I feel like they could do
Yes.
whatever they want with her and should match those better.
Yeah, it was something that totally threw me off because I played True Colors recently. I'm like, why would you do this? But anyway, just I think I forgot that I thought it was important because it really threw me off. Um, but yeah, overall, I think it's a missed opportunity. Like one of the guys on Twitter said that we could just have a thing for the 10-year anniversary of release. It's a shame that it's so buggy and hard to play, unfortunately. But hopefully, with a few patches, the game will be what it tends to be. And I don't know, get more people on board, and I don't know, restart the fandom in a way that it has been a bit quiet lately. I think it works for that.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that these patches get it up to like reasonableness. And I think I do feel some of that way too. Of like it does. I feel like my fandom at least has been reignited by this. Like I've really liked seeing some of the things that we've talked about along the way. I like that, having this on my calendar of cool. Maya and I am going to talk, and I are going to talk about the remaster and get to enjoy this game. Like those things have been things I've been looking forward to, and I think that that's something that is pretty good. I'm going to take from this. I don't know, like it almost feels like one of those things where I'm like, Life is Strange remaster the game, meh. We'll see. Hopefully it gets better, but my experience as a person by engaging with all of this more and already liking it, definitely a plus for that. I feel more drawn in than I have in quite some time, which is cool.
Yeah, I think the best thing we can take out of this experience is what Mark said on Twitter. My favorite thing is that people are talking about my favorite game again, and I think we're all in the same boat. Like, yeah, it's buggy, it needs work. I don't know. We're still on the fence on it, but the great thing is to see the fandom being alive again and people talking about it, and I don't know, the sharing this experience once again. It's pretty nice.
Yep, I fully agree. I think you're right. I think Mark said it best for all of us. Awesome. Well, cool. I feel like we've kind of uncovered all the stuff we want to talk about here. So, if you've got want to tell people where to find you on the internet or your art or Life is Strange fans, any of that stuff, the floor is yours.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter. You can find me at my underscore Kerry with QUI. You can also find Life is Strange fans on Twitter. If you type Life is Strange fans, we are pretty popular there, so you can find us easily. And you can get access to the Discord where people usually discuss that kind of stuff, like Life is Strange and games and overall nice people. And yeah, I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and I'll throw that stuff too in the show notes here. So, yeah, go check those things out and jump in the Discord. I like being in there. There are a lot of cool things on there. A lot of people who are very passionate about Life is Strange. So, it's fun to engage in stuff there. So, definitely do those. Again, thank you so much for coming on. This was great. I'm really glad we got to do this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to find us online, you can on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. That has a link to all of our past episodes. All our past episodes are on there. Also, there wherever you get podcast. So there are things like all the Life is Stranges. We've covered all of those up to True Colors. We also have done that. A whole bunch of other games. If you like Life is Strange, there are probably lots of games in our feed that you might also like. So could be good to check out there. Yeah, check out our Patreon, rate and review us on iTunes, whatever, any of that stuff. It would mean a lot. Really, I think getting to come together with people to enjoy games together is awesome. So if you want to do that, that would be cool. And we'd love to do that with you. And yeah, that's our episode, and we'll see you next time.